the thing is, you also don't want to disqualify yourself if you have some fatal flaw. And I'm not telling anybody to lie. You have to have absolute integrity. You have to have absolute authenticity. You have to be sincere. Because also when you're dealing with senior people, and we interview people all the time, you can pick up, especially some of the chairmen that I deal with, some chairmen who don't have a university education, but they can read they can read how sincere you are a mile away. So you have to be sincere. So it's like Icarus and the wax wings. You have to be aware that you have wax wings and don't fly. The story of Icarus where he has wax wings, he flies too close to the sun and kills himself. So you have to know that, hey, my wings are made of wax. I can only fly so high. And so you want to pick something that is part of your personality, because if you're doing so, for you've been in marketing for a while. So your personality is suited to marketing. Otherwise, you would have quit already, or you would have left. You would have changed. So naturally, there's parts of your personality that are pro for marketing and bad for other things. So you want to play for that. For me, I like, one of my weaknesses is I talk too much. Don't stop, and it can be very distracting for people. If you're working with me, you would have to have some kind of ground rules. We'd be like, Shane, we're not talking right now because I need to focus on this.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And the other bad part of that part of my personality is that I don't like working for long periods of time on my own. So like writing this book, for example, when I wrote this book, it was very painful because writing is a solo activity. You don't do it with someone else. You have to sit there for 10 hours by yourself, hours through a weekend. It's really a lonely thing. But for someone like Stephen King, who's a natural introvert, the less people he sees, the better it is. He likes to just stay in, and the 20 hours by himself typing is bliss. It's energizing him. So then I would say, hey, those are my biggest weaknesses. So don't put me in a role where I have to work alone and not see another person for a long period of time. And so it just matches my personality. It matches who I am. And that's it. Be authentic, be sincere, be realistic, understand who you are, what you're good at, what you're bad at, and what your personality is suited for. Someone else who, pardon?
No, continue.
Someone who's an introvert might say, I'm great at working independently, and, I can get things done. Tell me what I need to do and then leave me alone. And, one of my, downsides to that is, I worked at my last company for 5 years, and, 80% of the people in the company didn't even know who I was, because, and I think moving forward, I need to make more of an effort to go to the social events and the Christmas party. I'm like the kind of person who would skip out on a Christmas party because I prefer to just, it's too much for me. It's like, I'm shy. Okay, fine. Well, guess what? You know what? You'd be a great internal auditor. You'd be a great, there's a lot of jobs where you would be great. And so, do you understand how your personality fits into your job? And that, you asked me two questions. Sorry, the first one was, what's your greatest weakness?
The second question was, it's very similar, and it's something that employers always ask, which is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? But what are they actually looking for when they ask this question?
Right. So when you ask this question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? This is a giveaway. This is a freebie. So the correct answer, well, what are we really testing is we're testing retention. We want to know that if I hire you in 3 years from now, will you still be working for us, or will you move on? And so somebody who says, oh, in 10 years, I'll be in California because, my plan is to leave the Middle East. Well, and I had this actually happen, with a candidate who was actually the strongest candidate for a CEO job. But he said, in 3 or 4 years, and actually 10 years, we often will say, tell me where you'll be in 5 years, because 10 years, actually, most people can't even answer the 5-year question. So he kind of let them off the hook on the 10-year. But you should be able to answer the 10-year question. But so this guy was for the 5-year, and he's like, yeah, I want to be back in the UK. So it's disqualified because, you want to be say, hey, where will you be in 5 years from now? Oh, I'll be working for Emirates NBD. It's such a big bank. You have an international exposure, and I can get involved in so much. And I'm sure my career will blossom into XYZ things. I'll be here in Dubai, or maybe working, because I know you're expanding in Asia. Maybe I'll be in one of your international offices. Easy one to answer. But what are we testing for? One, I want to test your sense of identity. Who are you? Who are you? And who are you going to become? This is the core question of life. Not just in an interview, but just in life in general. And people who can answer this question are attractive. People who can answer this question attract a followership. People who are very strong in this question, for example, if you look at now, there's this guy, one of the most influential people in the world listed by Forbes at the age of 15 years old was Joshua Wong, who was he was leading the protests and a social movement leader in Hong Kong. And he said, I'm going to be a social activist. And he knew his sense of identity when he was 14. And all of a sudden, he was 15, 16 years old, but he was leading 45-year-old men in the protests in Hong Kong were being led by a 16-year-old kid, because his sense of identity is so strong. So when you can't answer, where am I going to be? You can't lead. The fundamental basis so one, we want to know the retention. Number two is vision and direction is your job if you're going for a C-level job or you're going for a leadership role. If you can't give direction to yourself over 5 years, how will you give direction to the team? How will you give direction to your department? How will you give direction to your company? So this becomes a major issue, and it makes it impossible for me to follow you. And number three, how do you motivate, excite, and ignite a team? I'll tell you, in the Second World War, there was a guy, and they were prisoners of war. And the guy's named Mark, and the other guy's name's John. And Mark falls on the ground. He's wearing his potato sack. And he tells his friend, John, they've been friends forever. They enlisted together. They've been friends for the last 15, 20 years. He's like, John, I can't go on. I'm exhausted. I'm going to die. I feel it now. I'm going to die. I have no more energy. I can't get up. And he's like, John's like telling him, he's like, get up. The prison guards are coming in. If you don't get on your feet, they're going to like beat the hell out of you. You have to get up. He's like, I can't go on. Then all of a sudden, they hear bullets flying in the camp, and the Allies break the camp, and a prisoner comes running in, and he's like, the war is over. The Allies have broken the camp. We're free. The prison gates are free. We can run free. Come on, let's go. And they run out, and John runs out, and what happens? Mark gets up off the ground, and he runs out of the camp. How did he do that? 5 seconds before that, he was ready to die, and now he finds the energy to run. Why? Vision. Because the vision of his tomorrow is totally different now than it was 5 seconds ago. And so as a leader, if you don't have vision, you can't motivate, you can't ignite, you can't drive your team. You're losing one of the fundamental levers that we need to use in our business. So the second that you say, oh, nobody has a crystal ball, some of the CEOs, they say this to me. They say, Shane, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can tell you what's going to happen 2 years from now in the Middle East because it's so volatile, and anyone who does is a liar. Okay, that's true. That's true. We can't say what's going to happen in 2 years from now, but you should at least have a plan. Hey, in a perfect scenario, this is what I'd be doing. Why are we all here? Sheikh Mohammed's vision of, hey, where we're going to be as a city in 10 years is so exciting. People from Argentina to UK to Australia to New Zealand, everybody is coming to Dubai and living. You can't have a meeting in Dubai without having, if there's 10 people in the meeting, 90% chance, at least 8 or all 10 of them are from different countries. Right. We spoke a lot about vision in the first episode for our viewers. Who are just tuning in, they can go to our IGTV and check it out. Over there, we actually spoke about it in a lot of more detail, and it's very interesting. It was episode number 1. I have another question for you. Actually, I have so many questions are coming up. One more is, why do you want to leave your current job? What do you reply there to a question like that? So this is where a lot of people, they drop the ball. Because you should never say because of the money, although it could be for the money. but you don't want to say that. And a lot of times my candidates, they'll say, because it's a better opportunity. Well, what's wrong with that answer? That answer then insinuates that if I hire you and somebody else gives you more money or someone else gives you better, you're going to leave.
You're going to run. Yeah.
So this is the problem with answering it that way. So what you want to do is say, hey, going back to our skill sets, our capabilities, and developing ourselves, that if I want to, I was working at P&G in sales, and at P&G, they don't let you cross over to marketing. If I wanted to really learn branding, I had to leave because they wanted me to become on the sales track. So I never wanted to leave P&G. But I had to go to Kraft to learn branding, because if I want to become a CEO of an FMCG company, I need to know sales and I need to know branding. So I had no choice. If I wanted to grow, I had to go. So we want to make the move as part of our personal development, as our journey, as our evolution, as our metamorphosis, as we go from the caterpillar into the butterfly. If we want to change, if we want to stop being a caterpillar, we have to make this move. And so it's a necessary evil. And then throw in, personally, I love that. I never wanted to leave Emirates NBD. It's my favorite bank in the world. But, if I wanted to get into fintech, I had to go. I had to get into this fintech thing. It was so exciting. I had to go and I had to learn my fintech skills. So you make it like you don't want to, but you had to grow.
Right. One more question, because I know we are a little bit running out of time, but I have so many questions for you that we're going to try to at least put in the next couple of minutes that we have together, in about like 8-7 minutes. One more is, what would your colleagues say about you? Or what is one thing that your previous boss would not like about you? How do you come about this answer?
Right. Yeah. And this is a trap. So what happens is, the person, so I'll say, hey, who did you report to? Oh, I reported to Tala. Okay, you reported to Tala for how long? For 5 years. What did Tala not like about you?
Yeah, I think it puts the person off guard, yeah.
Pardon?
It catches a person off guard. I think this is an interesting question, because it actually makes you think.
Yes, it catches you off guard. Now you're in big trouble, because if you say, I don't know, ask Tala, then I'll say, well, how poor are you in your performance reviews for 5 years? You were never able to pick up in 5 years in all your performance reviews of what she didn't like about your performance and what you needed to improve on? No, well, that's not true. Well, what was it then? Yeah, that's you start to squish them in. So, and this goes back to what's your greatest weaknesses. I really want to know, how aware are you? So a lot of people, they might find me overbearing or too loud, especially if I'm working with my European counterparts, whereas North Americans, we might be a little bit louder. And, Europeans might like to be a bit subtler, or give you that understated hint like, hey, this is the direction we want to go. So I'm aware of that. So you should be aware of what are the subtleties of your personality that rub people the wrong way. And so it comes again to your self-awareness, your emotional intelligence, your ability to have a realistic self-image. And we define emotional intelligence as your ability to create emotions in yourself, create and control emotions in yourself, and create and control emotions in others. And this is a very important thing for leaders. And in many circles, they think it's the most important thing. And if you don't know what it is that someone doesn't like about you, or what people would say negative about you, then you're in big trouble, because then we will say, hey, you don't have emotional intelligence. Now if you don't have emotional intelligence, you can't lead effectively. Because what's the emotion of the fuel of humanity is emotion. I can improve your performance. Your boss can come in and say, Tala, I know you're working on this project. I know that you're the best person on a team for this. I know you're going to do a great job. Just want you to know, really excited to see what's going to come at the end of the week, and walk out. Now, just that alone, because they pumped up they got you excited, the result is going to be 10 or 15% better. Maybe not dramatically. You're still always, you're a professional. You're always going to do a good job. But get that extra 10 or 15% out of you. So when the person is saying, hey, I don't really know, or ask them, That is the worst thing to say. And it's also aggravating if you're interviewing people all day and they say, well, I don't know what Tala would say about me. Why don't you ask her? Well, we're in an interview and I'm asking you right now. I'm not asking her, but trust me, I have her mobile number and I'm going to ask her. But you just blew your chance. So don't blow it. You should just say realistically and then go back. And now here's the other kicker. If you're a really experienced interviewer, what you're going to do is I'm going to ask you, what's your greatest weakness? What your boss who you reported to, what did they not like about you? And on your team, who's your describe your least favorite team member? And and then I'll ask you, what are the traits that you feel are holding you back? What are 3 changes you can make to your operating style that make yourself more successful? And all of these questions are asking the same thing. So there should be, what we want to see is consistency, because we're going to throw some controls into the interview to make sure that if you're a con man or you're a cheater or you're a liar, you're going to get caught, because everybody will say, I'm a team player. So how do we catch the fact that you're not? I don't know if I have time to go into that, but as an experienced interviewer, we have all kinds of things that we're going to do to grab that out of you. 5 minutes, so I don't know if that answered the question. I felt like it did.
Okay, since we don't have a lot of time, we're actually running out of time, unfortunately. This topic is really, really interesting. We could go on and talk about it for hours. But Shane, in about a few bullet points, what can you tell our readers or our viewers?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing just to leave you with is, how do you close your interview? And a really nice way is, because you want to know, did you get the job, and is there any misunderstanding that you need to close on? So then ask them, hey, you've now spent an hour with me. How do you see me fitting in with your team? Do you think I'd be a good fit with your team? That's a really polite way to ask, did I get the job? Because if they say, hey, you'd be a great fit, you know you got the job. If they say, oh, I'm not sure, oh, well, what is it that's a concern for you? And then you can go back in and close on it. The other quick question you can ask is, they ask, what are the top 3 things that you need to accomplish in this job in the next 12 months? Now, when they say what they are, you as an experienced professional will say, oh, well, if you want to launch in a new country, you need to know brand strategy, you need to know sales, you need to know P&L, and I could give you examples of where I've done similar things. And then you highlight what the core things they need to get done as, and then you highlight where you've done it. Give examples, live examples from your career. That's how you do it. So that's what I would say. 1, hey, how do you see me fitting in with the team? 2, what are the top 3 things you need done in the next 12 months in this job? And then close on those 2 points.
So it's sort of like you're giving your added value as well.
Yes.
Shane, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just want to remind you all, I want to thank Shane so much. He is the career coach and the CEO of the management consultancy, the Phillips Group. So tune in next week for another topic under career management. We're going to talk about something a lot interesting, very interesting actually, that falls under the same topic. So tune in. Thank you so much once again. And thank you to all our viewers. Have a good day.